On our broadcast tonight, Kyle Busch gets a birthday present with a win at Kansas. Three-time Indianapolis 500 winner Bobby Unser has died at the age of 87, and Lewis Hamilton takes victory in Portugal after crucial overtakes on Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas. Good evening. Perhaps it was birthday fate when the name of the race is the Bushy McBush Race 400. Your name is Kyle Busch, and it's your 36th birthday. You have to figure there's some serious racing juju in your favor, and Busch took advantage of it. Kyle Busch's number 18 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota took the lead on a restart with 2 laps remaining and held off the field by .336 seconds Sunday at Kansas Speedway to give him his first NASCAR Cup Series win of the season, 58th of his career, and his new crew chief Ben Beshore the first points-paying win of his Cup Series career. And completed a weekend trophy sweep for Busch, who won Saturday night's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Race 2. It was a dramatic ending to what had been largely a Kyle Larson show up front. The Hendrick Motorsports driver led a race-best 132 of 267 laps, but he got shuffled back to the second row on the last restart and had contact with Ryan Blaney's front row running forward after taking the final green flag. The 2 cars slid up and bounced into the wall and out of the groove, allowing Busch to take off with the help of his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Martin Truex Jr. pushing from behind. Ultimately, the Fords driven by Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski on fresher tires chased down Truex on the last lap to claim second and third place behind Kyle Busch. Keselowski, last week's Talladega winner, led a season-best 72 of the opening 80 laps. Matt DiBenedetto was 4th, and reigning series champion Chase Elliott finished 5th. Truex was 6th, followed by Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher, William Byron, and Austin Dillon completing the top 10. Larson, looking to claim his second victory of the season, was understandably disappointed after the race. He finished 19th after leading the most laps on the afternoon. The first 167 laps of the 267-lap race were run with no major incidents. The caution flags came out only for a scheduled competition caution and the 2 stage breaks. Busch won Stage 1 and Larson won Stage 2. But there were 3 cautions in the last 20 laps, making pit decisions and lane choice crucial in that last run to the checkered flag. Ultimately, 2-time series champion Busch was able to keep his car up front and make the move when he needed to. His victory obviously a huge boost in confidence for the team, which had only 2 previous top 5 finishes in the opening 10 races of the season. The NASCAR Cup Series races next Sunday at the historic Darlington Raceway in South Carolina in the Goodyear 400 at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1, MRN, and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. 3-time Indianapolis 500 winner Bobby Unser, one of the most colorful, outspoken, and popular drivers in the history of the greatest spectacle in racing, died Sunday, May 2nd at his New Mexico home. He was 87. Unser won the Indianapolis 500 in 1968, 1975, and 1981. He is just one of 10 drivers to win the 500 at least 3 times and is a member of numerous motorsports halls of fame, including induction into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame in 1990. Unser and Rick Mears are the only 2 drivers to win the 500 in 3 different decades. He was one of 6 members of the Unser family to race in the Indianapolis 500. Bobby and his brother Al, a 4-time winner, are the only brothers to win the race. Bobby Unser also was renowned and admired for his work in and out of the cockpit before his Indianapolis 500 and IndyCar driving career started and after it ended. He dominated the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb before he even turned a lap at Indy, and he was a popular IndyCar color analyst on national telecasts in the 80s and 90s after retiring as a driver. Unser was born February 20th, 1934 in Colorado Springs, the third of 4 brothers. When he was 1, the family moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, the city forever associated with the Unser family racing dynasty. In 1948, Bobby Unser started racing at Roswell Speedway in New Mexico. In 1950, he raced at Speedway Park in Albuquerque and won his first championship in Southwestern modified stock cars. After serving in the U.S. Air Force from 1953 to 1955, Unser and his brothers, Jerry and Al, decided to pursue racing careers in the United States Auto Club competition. Bobby Unser raced successfully in USAC sprint car, midget, and stock car competition. He earned 7th career USAC sprint car feature victories and placed 3rd in the standings in 1965 and 66. He also won 6 USAC stock car races and 3 USAC midget features. Unser's career in IndyCar started in the end of the 1962 season. He spent 3 years driving Novi-engined cars for Andy Granatelli, including the number 6 Hotel Tropicana Las Vegas Curtis Novi Roadster, in which he qualified 16th and finished 33rd and last as an Indianapolis 500 rookie in 1963. Unser's day ended after completing just 2 laps due to an incident. In fact, Unser's first 2 career Indy starts gave no indication of his further success. After completing 2 laps and finishing last as a rookie in 1963, he completed just 1 lap in 1964 and was credited with 32nd place in the 4-wheel drive number 9 Studebakers STP Ferguson Novi, fielded by Granatelli, getting caught in the multi-car accident that claimed the lives of Dave McDonald and Eddie Sachs. Unser earned his first career top 10 finish at Indy by placing 8th after starting 28th in 1966 for Gordon Van Loo's team. In 1967, he moved to Bob Wilkes' leader card team for a 4-year stint, which resulted in even greater fortune at Indianapolis and on the USAC championship trail. Unser earned his first Indianapolis 500 victory in the 1968 in the number 3 Rislone Eagle Offie, one of the most iconic and beautiful rear-engine cars in the Indianapolis 500 history. His first spot on the Borg Warner Trophy came after a spirited duel with Joe Leonard in one of Granatelli's famous STP Lotus cars powered by a Pratt & Whitney helicopter turbine engine. Unser led 118 of the first 191 laps, but was running second to Leonard when Leonard's fuel shaft broke on lap 192, with Unser powering past for his first 500 victory. Later that year, Unser won the first of his 2 USAC national championships, ending the season with 5 victories and edging Mario Andretti by a scant 11 points. In 1972, Unser earned the first of his 2 Indianapolis 500 poles during his successful 5-year partnership with Dan Gurney's All-American Racers. Speed skyrocketed that year with the legalization of bolt-on wings to chassis, and no one took better advantage than Unser. His 4-lap record qualifying average speed of 195.940 miles an hour in the number 6 Oslinite Eagle was more than 17 miles an hour faster than Peter Revson's pole speed from the previous year, the largest year-to-year increase in 500 history. Unser won his second and final USAC National Championship in 1974 after finishing runner-up to Johnny Rutherford in the 1974 Indy 500. In 1975, Unser won the Indianapolis 500 for the second time, driving the number 48 Jorgensen Eagle fielded by Gurney's team. Unser led only 11 laps, taking the top spot from Rutherford on lap 165, and holding it until the race was ended by a downpour on lap 174 of the 200 scheduled laps. He drove for Fletcher Racing in 1976 and 77, returning to Gurney's All-American Racers for 1 season in 1978. Unser joined Team Penske in 1979 for the start of a 3-year stint in which he won 11 races and finished second in the kart standings in 1979 and 1980. But perhaps his most famous race during his Penske tenure was the 1981 Indianapolis 500, which he won from the pole in one of the most controversial and contentious outcomes in the event's storied history. Unser beat Mario Andretti to the finish by 5.18 seconds in the number 3 Norton Spirit, but USAC officials ruled Unser passed cars illegally while exiting the pit lane during a caution on lap 149. Unser was penalized 1 position, with Andretti elevated to the winner. But after a lengthy protest and appeals process, Unser's penalty was rescinded, and he was declared the winner of the race on October 9, 1981. That victory became the last of Unser's storied IndyCar career, as he skipped the 1982 kart season to serve as a driver coach for Jose Garza, and decided against a planned comeback in 1983 with Patrick Racing. He finished his career with 35 career IndyCar victories and 2 championships among his 8 top 3 finishes in the season points. Unser ended his driving career as one of the greatest performers in the history of the greatest spectacle in racing. He produced 10 top 10 finishes in 19 career 500 starts. Unser led in 10 races for a total of 440 laps, still 10th on the all-time list. Unser's 9 front-row starts included poles in the 1972 and 1971 Indy 500s. His speed in qualifying at the Speedway was exceptional, as he was one of the 12 fastest drivers in 18 of his 19 starts. 14 of his 19 starts came from the first 3 rows. While those statistics are among the greatest in Indy history, Unser produced even more eye-popping numbers at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. Nicknamed Unser Mountain due to his family's success in the long-time race in Colorado Springs, Unser won 13 class titles at Pikes Peak and earned King of the Mountain honors 10 times during his career as the fastest driver overall up the famed mountain, tops among the racing Unser family that dominated this event. Unser also had a keen engineering mind that always searched for the technical advantage over his rivals. He sometimes would call his crew chief well after midnight with an idea for a chassis setup or another technical issue, and his prowess as a test driver was highly regarded because he turned every lap at the car's limit. Every angle was pursued by Unser when it came to trying to find the edge over against his foes. Team owner Jim Hall's famous Chaparral chassis, the first Indy car with ground effects aerodynamics underneath the car, got upside down when Rutherford crashed in the 1980 kart season finale at Phoenix. Unser learned of a photographer who took pictures of the closely guarded aero channels and tunnels beneath the car, and he obtained the photos, which were used in the development of Team Penske's 1981 ground effects chassis. After his driving career ended, Unser combined his vast racing experience and considerable skills as an outspoken raconteur to become a popular broadcaster on ABC, NBC, and ESPN IndyCar telecasts and on IMS radio network race broadcasts. The booth trio of play-by-play announcer Paul Page and the opinionated Unser and the erudite Sam Posey, with Unser and Posey's styles and comments almost always contrasting and often clashing, was one of the most entertaining and popular in IndyCar television history. 2 of Unser's proudest moments in the TV booth came when he called the finish in 1987, with play-by-play announcer Jim Lampley as his younger brother Al Unser earned his record-tying 4th 500 victory, and again in 1992 when he and Paul Page called the race when his nephew Al Unser Jr. won Indy for the first time in the closest 500 finish ever. Unser also was a part of the ABC Sports broadcast team that won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Live Sports Special for its coverage of the 1989 Indianapolis 500. After his TV career ended, Unser continued to visit IMS every month of May. In 1998 and 1999, he served as driver coach and assisted with race strategy on the radio for his son Robbie Unser during his 2 starts in the greatest spectacle in racing. Robbie finished 5th and 8th, respectively, in those 2 starts, with his father's help. Fans always flocked to Uncle Bobby to get a picture or autograph, to share their memories, or to hear one of Unser's countless colorful stories about his career and fellow racers. He also savored spending time in the media center swapping tales with many veteran journalists every May, as Unser was a tireless ambassador for IMS and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway until the end of his life. Unser is survived by his wife Lisa, sons Bobby Jr. and Robbie, and daughters Cindy and Jerry. A brilliantly managed race from Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton saw him take his second win of the 2021 season at the Portuguese Grand Prix, the Briton finishing ahead of Red Bull's Max Verstappen as Hamilton's pole-sitting teammate Valtteri Bottas came home third. With Hamilton starting second on the grid, an early safety car after Kimi Räikkönen had crashed into his Alfa Romeo teammate Antonio Giovinazzi saw the 7-time champion drop to third behind Verstappen at the lap 7 safety car restart. But Hamilton then fought back brilliantly, passing Verstappen back for P2 4 laps later before claiming the lead with an incisive pass on Bottas into Turn 1 on lap 20 of 66, eventually coming home for his 97th F1 victory and extending his lead at the head of the Drivers' Championship. Like Hamilton, Verstappen maintained his record of finishing all three races of 2021 so far in either P1 or P2, but had to be satisfied with the latter result. The Dutchman able to pull away from Bottas in the latter stages of the race after the Finn suffered a sensor issue on his power unit, but having been unable to do much about Hamilton at the front. Meanwhile, after late stops for both Bottas and Verstappen to try and claim the fastest lap bonus point, it was ultimately Bottas who got the job done after Verstappen had a faster lap deleted for a track limits infringement. Sergio Perez still has yet to finish on the podium as a Red Bull driver, but at least claimed his best result of the year with P4, ahead of Lando Norris, the McLaren driver, having now finished in the top 5 at every race this season so far. Remember, we only have 3 races done. Norris in 5th led the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc in 6th, while the Alpine pairing of Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso completed the team's fine weekend with P7 and P8. Alonso in particular having driven brilliantly in the race's latter stages. After starting a grim P16, McLaren's Daniel Ricciardo fought back to P9 at the checkered flag, with AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly taking 8th after a late pass on Ferrari's Carlos Sainz. At the front, though, the story of 2021's fascinating Red Bull vs. Mercedes battle had another chapter added to it at Portimao, with the wind now in the sails of the Silver Arrows. Hold on to your hats, because we're racing again next weekend, with Formula One crossing the Iberian Peninsula en route for the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for the 2021 Spanish Grand Prix on May 7th through 9th. No one but Lewis Hamilton has won at the Spanish track since 2017, but will any of his rivals be able to knock the 7-time champion and current championship leader off his perch? Our Motorsports announces today the addition of Tanner Berryhill to its driver roster for the number 23 Chevrolet in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Berryhill will pilot the entry for 3 races, starting with this weekend's Steakhouse Elite 200 at Darlington Raceway. The Bixby, Oklahoma native will have sponsorship from Realty Connect. Realty Connect, an exclusive real estate brokerage company for referral-only agents, will be on the hood of the number 23 Chevrolet for the race at Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. Berryhill made his NXS debut in 2012. The 27-year-old driver has amassed 40 starts in the Xfinity Series. Berryhill also has 2 starts in the NASCAR Cup Series. Berryhill will also pilot the Our Motorsports entry at Texas Motor Speedway in June and the Fall Texas Motor Speedway race in October. The Steakhouse Elite 200 at Darlington Raceway will take the green flag on Saturday, May 8th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The 147-lap event will be broadcast on FS1. Scott Dixon schooled the rest of the Genesis 300 field in an oval racing clinic Saturday night at Texas Motor Speedway, leading a race record 206 of 212 laps for his first victory of the 2021 NTT IndyCar Series season. Dixon drove the number 9 PNC Bank Chip Ganassi Racing Honda to a victory by .2646 seconds of a second by .2646 of a second over fellow New Zealand native Scott McLaughlin in the number 3 PPG Team Penske Chevrolet, who was racing on an oval for the first time. Pato O'Ward finished 3rd in the number 5 Our McLaren SP Chevrolet. This was the 51st victory of the legendary career of 6-time NTT IndyCar Series champion Dixon, just one behind, tying Mario Andretti for number 2 on the all-time win list. A.J. Foyt leads with 67 wins. The victory also marks Dixon's 19th IndyCar Series season with at least one victory. He also took the series points lead with his 5th career victory on the 1.5-mile oval. NTT IndyCar Series drivers and teams raced again Sunday evening at Texas in the XPEL 375, a 248-lap race which we'll get into later. Dixon started from the pole after NTT P1 award qualifying for both races was canceled due to weather delays earlier in the day. The fields were set by entrant points. Dixon, who started second, held a comfortable lead of 3 to 5 seconds at various points during the race, which went the distance despite rain in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But McLaughlin applied plenty of pressure over the last stint of the race after the final pit stops for most of the field under caution on lap 165. 3-time Australian V8 Supercars champion McLaughlin showed the composure and tactical sense of an oval racing veteran in his first race of only left turn, staying within about half a second of Dixon during the closing laps. Dixon approached the lap traffic with 2 laps to go, with the turbulent air from those cars slowing his charge toward the checkered. But he held off McLaughlin long enough for victory, averaging 173.036 miles an hour. It was a night of mixed results for the winners of the first 2 races of the season. Alex Palou, winner of the season opener, winner of the season opener April 18th at Barber Motorsports Park, finished 4th in the number 10 NTT Data Chip Ganassi Racing Honda after starting from the pole as the entrant point leader entering the race. Colton Herta, winner April 25th at St. Petersburg, placed 22nd when a mechanical problem in his number 26 Gainbridge Honda ended his night after completing 190 laps. Sebastian Bourdais and James Hinchcliffe were unhurt in separate accidents that triggered the only 2 caution periods of the race. 4-time IndyCar Series champion Bourdais hit the safer barrier hard in Turn 2 in the number 14 Rocket A.J. Foyt Racing Chevrolet after he was nudged into a spin by contact from the number 2 XPEL Team Penske Chevrolet of 2-time Series champion Joseph Newgarden on lap 56. Newgarden was moved to the back of the lead lap on the restart as a penalty for the contact. Hinchcliffe made contact with the safer barrier in Turn 2 after spinning on lap 160 in the number 29 Genesis Honda. Alfa Romeo have lost their appeal over the 30-second race penalty handed to Kimi Räikkönen after the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, which saw Räikkönen dropped from P9 out of the points to P13, with the stewards upholding the penalty while accepting that there had been no precedence for it. An error at Tamburello while lapping behind the safety car ahead of the post-red flag rolling restart at MLS saw Räikkönen fall from P7 to P10. The Finn then climbed up to P8 when the race got underway. But because he hadn't made it all the way back to his original position, Räikkönen was then obliged to drive through the pit lane rather than taking the rolling start out of position with the rest of the pack, the factor which ultimately led to the penalty. And although the stewards, after being petitioned by Alfa Romeo to review the penalty, sympathized with the technical nature of the rule, the decision was taken to uphold the original penalty. Explaining their decision, the stewards wrote Article 42.6 of the FIA Formula One sporting regulations indicates that a driver may pass to regain his starting position, including, and in parentheses, and importantly in this case, end of parentheses, during the laps behind the safety car, and if he fails to regain his position before SC1, he must enter the pit lane and start from the pits. Failure to do this incurs a mandatory penalty of a 10-second stop-and-go penalty. A short statement from Alfa Romeo, meanwhile, said that the team accepted the outcome, and from the stewards, with the team writing, Alfa Romeo Racing Orlen acknowledges the decision of the FIA and the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix stewards to uphold the original penalty to driver Kimi Räikkönen following a review of the incident. The team's focus is now fully on next weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. It is with a mixture of emotions that Rafael Lessard Racing today announces the interruption of his participation in the NASCAR Pickup Truck Series in 2021. The unfavorable conditions imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic on the North American economy did not allow for the team to deploy the strategy planned for the search of funding, particularly in 2020. Rafael Lessard is now turning to preparation for the 2022 season, counting first of all on the major achievements since his rise to NASCAR, on the substantive work already accomplished this year, and the anticipated economic recovery on both sides of the border. A GMS Racing statement said, due to the unfortunate circumstances, Rafael Lessard will no longer compete in the number 24 for GMS Racing for the remainder of the 2021 season. Information on the number 24 entry will be announced at a later date, but we have some preliminary but not confirmed information from Bob Pockrass's Twitter. Bob Pockras, a senior analyst and big NASCAR Twitter guy for Fox Sports, says Ryan Reed is listed in the NASCAR roster portal as the driver of the GMS number 24 truck for Darlington. Entry list for Darlington have not been released yet, but we will update you whenever they are released on one of these episodes. Petto Awards, time is now. Award broke through for his first career NTT IndyCar Series victory in the number 5 Arrow McLaren SP Chevrolet, winning the XPEL 375 on Sunday evening at Texas Motor Speedway. Award, who started fourth, passed two-time series champion Joseph Newgarden with 24 laps remaining in the 248-lap race and pulled away to a 1.2443 second victory over Newgarden's number 2 XPEL Team Penske Chevrolet. The win came after 5 top 3 finishes, including 3 as a runner-up, since Award became a full-time driver in the series in 2019, including third Saturday in the Genesis 300 on the 1.5-mile oval. The site also has significance for Mexican Award, who went to middle and high school and has lived in San Antonio. Award became the first Mexican winner of an IndyCar Series race since Adrian Fernandez in 2004 on the 2-mile oval at Auto Club Speedway. This was also McLaren's first win in IndyCar since April 22, 1979, when Johnny Rutherford swept a doubleheader at Atlanta Motor Speedway, back when CART was the big IndyCar sanctioning body. Graham Rahal finished third in the number 15 Fleet Cost and Care Honda. 6-time series champion Scott Dixon, winner of the Genesis 300 that we just covered, finished fourth after starting from the pole in the number 9 PNC Bank Chip Ganassi Racing Honda. Colton Herta bounced back from an early exit Saturday night due to mechanical failure to finish fifth in the number 26 Gainbridge Honda. Dixon kept the series points lead. Award jumped to second in standings, 22 behind. While Dixon and teammate Alex Palou were the only leaders Saturday night with 3 lead changes among them, there were 9 leaders and 12 lead changes tonight in a contest that shifted from tactical fuel strategy to all-out speed over the closing laps. With 100 laps to go, Dixon, Rahal, Award, and 2014 Series champion Will Power closed to within 1 second of each other, packing closely to try and save fuel while whittling the number of pit stops needed from 4 to 3. Dixon and Rahal peeled off for their final pit stop on lap 186, followed by Award on lap 187 and Power on lap 188. Team Penske president Tim Cindric, who serves as Newgarden's race strategist, decided to keep his driver on track until lap 189. It was a deft call by Cindric. Newgarden produced blistering in-and-out laps around his stop and returned to the track in second behind Takuma Sato in the number 30 Panasonic MyJack Honda, who had not made his final stop. Then the last of 3 caution periods started on lap 190 when the right rear wheel of the number 7 Arrow McLaren SP Chevrolet, driven by Felix Rosenqvist, worked free from the wheel hub assembly in turn 3. Rosenqvist returned to his pit box safely for service. On the ensuing restart on lap 197, Newgarden was content to let Sato lead for a while to ensure he had plenty of fuel for an all-out dash to the checkered. Newgarden's patience ended on lap 202 when he rocketed past 2-time and reigning Indianapolis 500 presented by Gainbridge winner Sato for the lead. Award then pulled closer and began to stalk Newgarden. On lap 225, he tried to pass Newgarden for the lead with a daring outside move in turn 1, but was parried. But Award sealed his powerful deal by diving inside Newgarden for the lead in turn 3 on the same lap and began to pull away, never trailing thereafter. He averaged 169.360 miles an hour in the victory. The complexion of the race changed on lap 1 before the 24-car field arrived in turn 1. Pietro Fittipaldi's number 51 Nurtec ODT Honda hit the rear of Sebastian Bourdais' number 14 Rockets AJ Foyt Racing Chevrolet, while the back of the pack compressed while approaching the green flag at the start-finish line, triggering a melee that involved 7 cars and eliminated 6. Involved in the incident, besides Fittipaldi and Bourdais, were Connor Daly in the number 59 Carlin Chevrolet, Ed Jones in the number 18 Steelmaster Honda, Tony Kanaan in the number 48 the American Legion Honda, Dalton Kellett in the number 4 K-Line Insulators AJ Foyt Racing Chevrolet, and Alexander Rossi in the number 27 AutoNation/Napa Auto Parts Honda. All the drivers in the incident were unhurt, and Kanaan was the only to continue in the race. Daly took the wildest ride in the crash. He tried to follow James Hinchcliffe in the number 29 Shift to Green Honda through a hole in the chaos, but that escape route quickly closed. The ensuing contact turned over Daly's car, and it slid down the track on the roll hoop and revolutionary aero screen, turning right side up when it touched the infield grass. Daly climbed from the car without assistance. The series shifts to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the next two races. The GMR Grand Prix is scheduled for Saturday, May 15th on the IMS road course, with the 105th Indianapolis 500 presented by Gainbridge set for Sunday, May 30th on the Brickyard's world-famous oval. And we have more sad news, unfortunately, in the racing world, this one breaking on Sunday. Former driver Eric McClure passed away unexpectedly on Sunday. He had spent most of his career in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, making 288 starts from 2003 to 2016, but also had 3 Cup Series starts. In a family statement saying, "The family of Eric Wayne McClure, former NASCAR driver, announces with great sorrow his passing on Sunday, May 2nd, 2021. They would like to thank everyone for their prayers and support during this very difficult time." Norm Benning Racing posted to their Facebook page on Sunday that their street truck is still missing, but they now have a way to transport Benning's race truck home. This comes after a freak accident on Saturday in which Norm Benning, the Iceberg's favorite driver, I should add, lost their street truck on Saturday. And the next-gen car will be unveiled to the public for the first time on Wednesday from Charlotte, and fans can watch the historic event with NASCAR.com's live stream starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The event will also air across NASCAR's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channels. NASCAR and its OEMs, Chevrolet, Ford, and Toyota, have worked together to develop a car from the ground up that will help boost competition across the garage. Each manufacturer will reveal their unique look in anticipation of the next-gen car, making its competition debut for the start of the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series season, and we will have full coverage of that as it occurs after my classes are complete. And that is MDM Racing News tonight on this Monday. It is May 3rd, 2021. I'm Matthew Merlino for the MDM Racing YouTube channel in Montvale. See you tomorrow, everybody. Good night.